some eventful stories. I'm glad they had happy endings. Happy endings, that's what they call it, you know, when you go to the massage parlor. I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that most of you have had an orgasm. You know, orgasm's kind of our culture's de facto definition of pleasure. Like a really good meal is called an orgasm for the mouth, as if the mouth were not frequently involved in the more pedestrian kind of orgasm. But you get the gist, you know. Orgasms are where it's at. We spend a lot of time, energy, money en route to what we hope is going to be orgasmic. You know, orgasms are nice, no question. But you know, they don't last very long. And when they're over, what have you got? Sometimes you have a relationship, frequently an awkward situation, a broken heart, God forbid, an STD. Sometimes you get pregnant. You know, only the male has to have an orgasm for pregnancy to happen. The woman's pleasure is completely non-essential. But ladies, we get to bear the children. Now, you know, childbirth is not famous for being pleasurable, but recently, one of my daughters turned me on to a study, complete with online video, that documents women having orgasm while giving childbirth. Talk about multitasking. I'm just wondering how they could tell, because childbirth is such a transporting experience that, I'm sorry, but orgasm, pale in comparison. And I know because I have 2 children, both of them born at home. Molly is born in the wee hours of the morning during a New England snowstorm, which has the midwives rather worried. My labor starts a day and a half before the snowstorm, when I get a foot massage from a midwife who assures me that stimulating a certain nerve ending in my heel will bring on my contractions. Because I am a week and a half past my due date. And baby, I put my plate right here when I eat, because I can't even get to the table. I'm so ready. I take long walks every day. I jump up and down a lot, which makes my male friends very nervous. And sure enough, a few hours after this foot massage, my contractions begin. Labor is not truly astounding until you get to something called transition. And this is the last part of the process by which your cervix dilates. Your cervix is that part of the uterus that meets the vagina. Bet you didn't know you were going to get a health lesson. Okay. Usually the opening in the cervix is very, very small. It's like a pinhole. And in order for you to bear your child, that pinhole has to open up, you know, something like that. So to get some idea of how much the tissue of your cervix has to stretch in order to accommodate the birth of your child, take your lower lip. Good. Take your lower lip. Stretch it away from your face as far as you can. Good. 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 Now stretch it over the top of your head. I wouldn't call transition orgasmic, but it definitely gets your attention. There are Native American cultures that teach that during childbirth, the soul of the mother must travel to heaven to fetch the soul of the child. And I totally believe that. Because you are literally beside yourself. Your body is churning through this epic journey, and honey, you are just along for the ride. So here's me and my body as the snow falls outside. And I'm through with transition, and the cervix has dilated, and the baby is in the chute, and I'm having a hard time getting Molly into the world. And that is why the midwives are a little nervous in case I have to be transported. That is the terminology they use if they're going to have to take you to the hospital because things aren't going well. As if you were not already transported. So I kneel, I squat, I mean, I'm all over the place. At one point, there are 5 of us on the bed. And finally, the principal midwife is like, what the heck is going on? So to find out, she puts her hand up into the birth canal, also known as my vagina. Which is really full of baby, too. Yeah, that was memorable. And lo and behold, Molly has her hand next to her head. So now instead of just having to get this out, I had to get all of this out at the same time. And 3 hours and a tank of oxygen later, Molly is born at last. And she's born like this. Smiling. And the next day, I am sore all over. My face is sore from grimacing. My hands are sore from clutching. And of course, the parts of me that you would expect to be sore are sore. And I have never felt happier or more accomplished. 3 years later, on a sunny California afternoon, Rosalind is born in half the time. I don't even call the midwives until I'm almost through transition, because the week before I called them and it was a false alarm. I had gas. I only pushed for 20 minutes, and my husband Peter has to race home with Molly in order to be there for the birth. And they appear by the bedside. You know, they look me in the face, kneeling on the floor. I am already halfway to heaven to fetch the soul of the child. And they say to me, if it's not too late, we'd like a girl. In spite of the fact that Rosalind has been requested, she is not born smiling. She howls like a banshee, and she only calms down finally when her father puts her in a warm bath next to the bed. And she locks eyes with him and with her older sister and with me. And even though she has only been in the world with us for a few minutes, her look gives meaning to our lives. And we, all of us, feel happy and accomplished. I feel happy after I have an orgasm. Sometimes I even feel accomplished. Oh yeah, we've had those kind. The kind you have to fight for. Yeah. Orgasms, you know, they make you laugh, they can make you weep, they can make you curse or thank God. They're like a little door that flaps open in your soul for a moment, and if you are lucky, love comes through and says hello. Birth is like an invasion. That little door is blown right off its hinges, and love storms in and flattens you. Having your doors blown off, being flattened, sounds good, doesn't it? And it is. Birth is an undeniable, sublime, physical union of two people. We've all been there once. And afterwards, you have this spectacular memento that just keeps blowing your doors off and flattening you for years to come. So I'm not going to be bearing any more children. 2 is enough anyway, you know. You can't take the birth trip without getting the souvenir. And there's only so much parental afterglow a person can stand. So I guess, you know, from now on, I'm going to have to be satisfied with plain old, ordinary, everyday, you wish, orgasms. And I plan to do that. I plan to do that, and I hope that there is still time for me to learn how to take that orgasm and stretch it over the top of my head.